played in a band called Nasty Habit, and we played in clubs. That was a good experience. And we actually did a demo out at Sonobeat Studio, which was, historic. But we didn't do anything with the demo. Played in another band called Jelly Roll. That was my beginning. I hooked up with Eddie Munoz, who was originally from San Antonio. They were like a blues glam band, kind of like the New York Dolls and the Rolling Stones mashed together. That band lasted about a year and a half, and then the punk thing was happening in London and New York and LA, and we knew about it. We were collecting the records, and so briefly these girls were starting a band called the Violators, but they needed a bass player. Couldn't find a girl bass player, so we were all good friends. So I played with them. That was Kathy Valentine, who went on to the Go-Go's, Carla Olson, who went on to have a band in Los Angeles called the Textones, which briefly included Kathy. I played with them, but before we got a gig, we realized we needed an opening band, so Eddie and I started our own band, the Skunks, with Billy Blackman on drums. We already had our gig, Raoul was booked. Raoul was caught on that. So by the time we played there, which was February, people were really curious about this stuff, and so they came out, and it was a very successful gig. Less than 100 people there, but it was very energetic, you could tell this is happening. And so the Skunks was a happy band, stuff like that. Great kids at home, they kept building and building. We'd play anywhere at least once, even, a lot of times people there hated us, wanted to kill us, but some of the people there would spread the word and they'd come to our next gig. So it was really built for that way. We had all kinds of people because we were not punk, per se. We were rock and roll band. We were just playing rock and roll. We thought we should be playing just loud and fast. Clubs like the back room back in the late 70s and early 80s was really an arcade and just a drinking bar. They didn't charge a cover. So they didn't need showcase bands coming in there. They just needed music, and so typically the bands who played there they were cover bands or country bands, it was practically background music. Much increased our fan base. We had a great time playing there, but we didn't play 4/7. We had all planned to move to LA. The first chance we got, actually, we were all planning to just play a few gigs and go out there. We were going to play in the studio in Austin. We thought it was dead here, and there was no place for it. So, but as soon as the Skunks started getting fans, I didn't really see a reason to move out there. I wanted to stick it out here. I could see the reason to move out there, but I liked what was happening here and decided to stay. Eddie had still planned to move, and so at the end of '78, he took off. So I found John D. Graham as his replacement. John D. and I became really good pals, but in '81 he left. Then after 2 years I did a reunion show with John D. and Billy, and it was great. It was at Liberty Lunch. We sold out. They sold every bit of beer and everything that they had. There was blood on the edge of the stage where beer bottles had broken and people were just pounding the stage, you know, with the beat, and their arms got all cut up. It was really something to see. I never stopped playing, and I was playing, you know, I played some good gigs, but it wasn't my main focus. And I heard this guy, Tom Freund, playing on the radio with Jay Trachtenberg. He was backing himself up with upright bass, and it was real cool. And so that's when I decided, hey, I'm going to do that. So I learned to play upright bass, you know, taught myself to do that. I do this thing where it's called Noir at the Bar. It's for book people. When crime authors come for book signings, I'll get up and play a couple of murder ballads. They'll read, then I'll read and close the show. So I do a pretty special kind of reading for my novels and works in progress. My last novel, Gravedigger Blues, it was designed, I wrote it as performance pieces, and so we actually did, I did a series of shows at the Buzz Mill where I would play that and then do a reading from it with friends reading other parts. I wrote from when I was a young teenager, writing poems and stuff. I would write with music going on. I would write songs or poems listening to stuff like Neil Young and just sort of rewrite the song, you know, but, you know, with my own words, so follow the rhythm, the cadences of that music and stuff like that, or just, you know, just let the feeling carry me there. So this is funny. I remember real well this book. When I was about 12, I had a job sweeping up at the drugstore after school, and so they had the paperback rack there, and one of the books I got was it was called Hex, but it was about a blues guy, and a blues musician, and some woman had put a hex on him. It had blues lyrics in it and stuff, and all the blues scenarios and stuff. So I think that influenced me forever. When I started writing the crime novels, I would have a scenario where I wanted my guy to be playing a certain song. I think of a title like Who Put the Sting on the Honeybee? And, oh, that's a cool title. So the band's playing this song, and describe what it sounds like, and later on I'd sit down and write the song. I had a mentor, Ed Ward, the local Austin author and music historian, and he helped me develop, you know, authorial voice, and he said, yeah, you know, you should write another one because editors want a series. The second one, by the time the second one, that was Rock Critic Murders, and I sold that after we moved to Los Angeles. My wife and I were there just a couple of months, and I was doing the same things that we did with sending out cassettes and stuff with the band, sending them to record labels. Instead, I was sending out manuscripts to agents and editors. And I found an editor in New York who was interested in me, and she signed me, and she was at Viking Penguin. And my first 3 novels came out that way in the 80s and 90s. And after that, I published a memoir, Never the Same Again, which is about my experiences with music and also with my cancer, and also because in 1976 my girlfriend Diane Roberts was killed when I was at a gig in San Antonio, and I came home and found her. She was killed by a serial killer, and that was a terrible experience. I thought, well, this would make a good story I'll pull together, because 25 years later it was still a sort of a post-traumatic stress syndrome situation for me. So the point I'm trying to make is you feel like, oh, I'll never get through this. But it's so important to be able to tell people, you'll get through it, it'll get better. So that's it. The book has been really helpful to a lot of people.
Awesome.